Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Spread healing by healing yourself. I'm going to do that again. I don't want to sound insecure. See, I still have a lot of issues. What's up, everyone? I am Vanessa Davis, and I am a mental health consultant. I developed a program to help people that have experienced a lot of childhood trauma heal from that trauma, and I'm someone that has experienced a lot of trauma, had a lot of mental health issues myself, and so I really just wanted to come on and talk about that, because there's people like me that struggle to be well, that sometimes the messaging around mental health, it skips us. So this is for you. So Mental Health Awareness Month, it's usually a month where we focus on bringing attention to the fact that mental health is, many people struggle with our mental health. You can have mental health diagnoses like bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression, schizophrenia, and a lot of times when you're dealing with those type of things, it can seem like you're the only person that's struggling, but a lot of people are struggling. So I think a part of mental health is to bring awareness to the fact that a lot of people struggle with their mental health. And then also, so those are the diagnoses, but you can just also have challenges like you have a difficult time falling asleep and it affects your productivity. I think mental health awareness is also used to bring awareness to a lot of the barriers that people face in being well. And so that's usually what mental health awareness is about. But sometimes I get frustrated with the messaging of like mental health and wellness, because I feel like in this country, you really do have to have financial means to be well. When I think of wellness, the picture that I see in my mind is like a white lady standing on the mountain doing yoga. Like that's what I view of like wellness. Like, ooh, if I can stand on a mountain and do yoga and look good in like tights, and I'm well too. And I think there's like this not tangible, perfect version of ourselves that we're like chasing when we think of being well. And so I just know from my own challenges and from having worked in this field and seeing people's day-to-day struggle, that for a lot of people, it's not easy for them to be well. There's so many societal, financial barriers that people face in accessing therapy. You have to be really operating honestly at a certain type of level to be able to go to therapy every month and to make those appointments and schedule around your child care and consistently remember that you have these appointments. I've tried therapy multiple times, and when I have gone consistently, then I'm sitting in front of a therapist that has absolutely no idea like of the context of who I am. And so I think a lot of times people get discouraged with that. And I'm not even going into like people needing to have insurance and just all those barriers and red tapes and scheduling appointments and finding that there's so many barriers. And so many people just struggle silently and they give up. They look to their ways of coping to help them get through some of the challenges that they're experiencing. And I know in my own experience, you know, as a Black woman, I'm someone that has struggled with an eating disorder. And it's something that I've carried a lot of shame over during the years. I felt like there's no one that could understand me or understand that. I didn't feel like this is something that Black women in our community experience or face. And so it's still awkward for me to talk about it. But I remember there was this time when I was working and I like saved up money for a year so that I can go into treatment. I didn't tell anyone. I couldn't like tell anyone in my family that I was doing this. I'm like nervous at work that people are gonna find out. And I saved up all this money, like found this treatment program for people with eating disorders. And I was like, yes, this is my time in life. I'm finally gonna get my life together. This is like it, like I'm going into treatment. And I went into the treatment program, and it literally was like an episode of like Cruel Intentions. Like it was like no shade, but it was like all of these like really thin white girls that had family and money, and they would talk about like their problems, and I'm like, this is you guys' problems? Like, woo, you want to hear about problems, child? Like, okay. And not to minimize minimize, see, that's the thing, not to minimize people's struggles, because people need people that reflect their own struggles, but I wasn't seeing anyone that reflected my struggle. And as I've been, you know, working in this field and researching and my own experience with healing, the thing that I don't hear being said enough is that we have the ability to heal ourselves by becoming more aware of who we are, by becoming aware of the things that make us great. During this time when I was struggling with an eating disorder, that's all I saw. And like the success that I would have in work or anywhere else, like it just seemed like that was luck. It didn't seem like that was like actually me. And I felt like I was always like nervous and scared of people like finding out who I truly was. But really, I'm actually really talented in a lot of different areas. I bring a lot to the table in a lot of different areas. And now I've become more aware of that, which leads me to, you know, what are we to do? Like there's all of these barriers for people getting well. Like what can we do? And really, we can heal ourselves by becoming more aware of who we truly are and embracing ourselves, by not chasing after this perfect image or identity that we're trying to have, by becoming more aware and putting ourselves in context. Context is so important. You can miss a lot, misunderstand a lot through the wrong context, or because you're not taking context into consideration. And what I mean by that is what we experienced in the past, in our childhood, has a lot to do with where we are presently. And sometimes people are unaware of that. They're going through their lives, they keep on making the same mistakes. They're not able to pay their bills on time. They're not able to stop smoking. They're not able to do these things, you know, whatever. They're not able to maintain a healthy relationship. And it literally is a direct impact of unhealed childhood trauma. And not only that, but I've done a lot of research about what's called adverse childhood experiences, and ACEs. And this ACEs really says that what you went through as a child, these experiences that you had, can lead to negative health outcomes as an adult. You can be more prone to heart disease, to suicide, to drug use, to obesity, all because you experienced this trauma when you were a child that you were never able to heal from. And people go through their lives unaware of that. They go through their lives suffering silently in shame, using their coping mechanisms that are slowly killing them, and not aware that it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. There's this saying that says, to know all is to forgive all. And when we truly know our stories and our histories and why we are the way we are, why our parents were the way they were, in light of our environment, our communities, all of that, like when we truly know all, we forgive all. And so when we become more aware of ourselves, it literally helps us to heal the relationship that we have with ourselves. And so when I think about our communities and, you know, homeless populations that don't have access to resources, single moms that don't have access to resources, what I would suggest, or really not even suggest, literally what the cure is people becoming more aware of themselves. So, I grew up in foster care. I went into foster care at the age of 3 and remained in the system until I aged out at 18. And growing up in the foster care system was just very traumatic. I experienced a lot of abuse, neglect. I was really, really lonely as a child. And I was also like really intelligent. And no one really noticed. Like I would walk around at like the age of like 11 carrying like books like literally like this big and just walking around reading, because that's the way I escaped like my circumstances. I would get awards at school and I would never have like people show up and stuff. I just had that type of, you know, life. But one of the ways that I would escape is through my mind. I was constantly thinking and fantasizing about what I wish my life was like, who I wish my parents were, like just, you know, stuff like that. And I would just spend hours escaping into my mind. And so fast forward to the present, it's very easy for me to think in future and to be creative and to think of ideas, and I'm always thinking that way, which is great. It's a part of my genius and like what makes me me. But it can also become very dysfunctional when I can't like turn my mind off from that. I can't be present and like really focus on what's happening in my present life, or I neglect my friendships and my relationships because I'm working on some project that's gonna, you know, do all of these things. So you know, it impacts my sleep. And so that's kind of like where my issues, I mean, not all of them, you know, there's others, but where some of my issues lie with my mental health. And I've realized that a lot of us, you know, we've struggled to access services. There's so many barriers for people being well. I've experienced a lot of those barriers myself, and from a professional standpoint, I've also seen the people that I've worked with want to be well and not be able to access support for a wide variety of reasons. I've done focus groups with people to see what those are, and what I've realized is that we keep on trying to get people to be well through systems, and that doesn't work, because with systems there's so much red tape and like processes and stuff that you have to go through. And when you've been under intense toxic stress, studies literally show that your brain can't even sometimes organize or plan. Your executive functioning is very greatly impacted. And so a lot of people struggle with navigating these systems. And so what I've realized is that a lot of my own personal healing has come through community. Ooh, of course. I mean, everyone has a deep longing to belong. And I think sometimes people try to like shut themselves off from that. But essentially everyone wants to belong. They want to be reflected. They want to see themselves in someone else. And we don't even just scientifically realize that we're even a person until you interact with another person.
Right.
You're not aware of yourself if there's not someone else. And so that really is what healing is all about. It's becoming more aware of yourself. There's some inner journey things that you need to do, because you know, there might be connections that you need to make between your past, your present, and like the person that you're trying to be in the future. And a lot of that can only happen with you asking yourself those questions. But you kind of have to have those consistent, stable relationships and minds that you're consistently bumping up against that reinforce who you truly are. A person that has, unfortunately sometimes, and I know, you know, there's some people that are able to, but a person that has never been homeless sometimes has a difficult time truly seeing a homeless person like they see a homeless person, versus a man with a story that had his own struggles and his own life and experiences and is still an amazing person. They have difficulty seeing that. And so when you're within community with people that have experienced the same things that you have, it makes you more aware of who you are. One of the things that I'm so grateful for is being connected to, like for instance, my church family. And my church family were like the first people that, you know, showed me that I was creative, that showed me that I had skills and abilities to offer. They're the first people that like really noticed me. And I think when you are a part of a community that reflects who you are, like your core worth, they don't see you as dysfunctional. They don't see you as homeless. They don't see you as this other. When you're a part of a community that sees you because they've also experienced those same struggles, that's that's a profound experience. And one of the things that experience helps you do is to become more aware of yourself. And so that was my experience with community. But then as I've been researching, you know, how to help people be well, the other profound experience is just you yourself going on the journey to become more aware of who you truly are and to fully embrace all aspects of yourself. When you start to become aware of like what's really important to you in relationships, and start actually looking for that type of experience versus just navigating whatever messed up experience comes to you. You know what I'm saying? Like when you really start to be aware of what it is that you want, when you really start to be aware of what it is that you bring to the table, when you really start to be aware of how your past is still in fact impacting you, and it's okay, you start to heal yourself. And so focus on being more curious about yourself and just stepping back and like being aware of who you truly are, being aware of your thoughts, and realizing that your thoughts aren't who you are. Sometimes you could think some messed up things and it's okay. That's not a part of who you are. Sometimes the way that you're thinking, the way that you're feeling depressed, that's okay, but it's still not the totality of who you are. Your trauma is not the totality of who you are. When you really start to be aware of who you are, you heal yourself. So there's no barriers to being well if you want to be well, and being well is whatever it looks like for you. So that's all. Happy Mental Health Awareness Month. Spread healing by healing yourself.